Have you ever wondered why your kindness seems to unsettle people? Why the moments you show the most compassion are the very moments someone pulls away? You give, you listen, you care, and somehow it still feels like you are being punished for your light. There is a part of you that just wants to be seen for what you are, gentle, genuine, real. Yet the world keeps mistaking your warmth for weakness. You start to ask yourself, what is wrong with me? But maybe nothing is wrong with you at all. Carl Jung believed that every soul carries both light and shadow, and when you shine too brightly, you awaken the darkness in others. Your empathy becomes a mirror, reflecting not just their beauty, but also the wounds they have spent a lifetime avoiding. They do not hate you because you are too kind. They resent you because your presence reminds them of everything they have forgotten to love within themselves. So if you have ever felt drained, misunderstood, or quietly rejected for simply being who you are, this story is for you. Because tonight, we will uncover the hidden law of human connection, why those who heal others often carry the deepest scars, and why your light, no matter how pure, will always cast a shadow. Stay here, breathe. What you are about to hear may finally make sense of everything you have ever felt. There is a strange and almost paradoxical law that governs human relationships. A quiet tension that lingers between light and shadow. You have probably felt it, even if you could not name it. That invisible pull between your gentleness and another's unease, between your sincerity and their discomfort. The brighter you shine, the more you seem to disturb the darkness around you. It is one of life's most confusing experiences. To be kind and yet be resented for it. To bring warmth and still feel the chill of misunderstanding. And maybe, as you lie there tonight, listening to these words, you can remember a moment when someone looked at you with a smile that did not reach their eyes. You felt it in the air, the shift, the contraction, the subtle energy that says, your presence is too much. Carl Jung once wrote, where light is, shadow is also. Every human being carries within them a shadow, that secret container of all we refuse to see about ourselves. It is not evil, it is simply the part of us that hides. And when we encounter someone whose light shines brightly, someone open, empathic, honest, that light does something extraordinary. It illuminates not only the beauty within us, but the parts we have buried. The empath, by their nature, becomes a mirror. Their compassion, their calmness, their quiet strength, all of it reflects back what lies hidden in others. And what we see in that reflection can be unsettling. Some people, when faced with such a mirror, recognize the truth and soften. Others turn away, unable to face the image that stares back. This is the paradox of human connection. We crave light, yet we fear exposure. We long to be understood, yet we resist being seen. Jung called this tension the process of individuation, the lifelong journey of integrating both the conscious and the unconscious, the light and the dark, into one whole being. But most people are not ready for that journey. They protect their shadows, guard their illusions, and when your empathy shines too brightly, they mistake illumination for threat. Imagine yourself walking into a dimly lit room, quiet, soft, still. Your very presence changes the air. Some people look up and feel comforted, as though a candle has been lit after years of darkness. But others squint, cover their eyes, or turn away. They are not angry at the light itself. They are angry at what the light reveals. And that is where misunderstanding begins. You, the empath, are not trying to change anyone. You are simply being. You speak with kindness, listen with depth, move through life with a heart that feels too much. But those who haven't made peace with their own shadows will feel your presence as pressure, a mirror they never asked for. Jung once said, "The meeting of two personalities is like the contact of two chemical substances. If there is any reaction, both are transformed." Every encounter changes us, even the quiet ones. When your energy meets another's, something alchemical happens. Sometimes gentle, sometimes volatile. Your light catalyzes transformation, but transformation is rarely comfortable. It exposes what must be healed, and not everyone is ready to heal. So they resist, they retreat, they resent. And you, standing there with your open heart, begin to wonder what you did wrong. You replay conversations in your head, searching for the mistake, the word, the gesture. But the truth is, their reaction was never truly about you. It was about the awakening you stirred within them. In Jungian terms, your empathy activates their projection. They cast their hidden fears, insecurities, and unacknowledged pain onto you. To them, you become too much, too emotional, too sensitive. Yet what they are really saying is, "You remind me of everything I have forgotten to love in myself." This is the strange law, the empath's curse and gift alike. Wherever there is genuine light, the shadow sharpens its edges. But do not let this truth sadden you. The shadow's discomfort is not a sign that you have failed. It is a sign that your presence has meaning. Jung believed that our role is not to destroy the darkness, but to understand it. One does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious. When you walk through the world with empathy, you are helping others, even when they resist you. You are awakening their unconscious, bringing shape to what has long been silent. Yes, it can be lonely. Yes, it can feel unfair to be the one who heals, yet often left unseen, to be the candle that warms others while slowly melting itself. But remember, the flame does not diminish by giving light. It becomes what it was always meant to be. So tonight, as you listen, allow yourself to rest in that paradox. You are not too much. You are not a problem. You are the reminder that within every heart lies both a shadow and a spark waiting to meet each other. You are the quiet proof that even in the darkest room, one light can still change everything. And so, as the candle burns within you, you begin to notice something subtle yet undeniable. The world reacts to your light in ways that do not always make sense. It is not always praise, nor gratitude, nor peace. Sometimes it is distance, a soft withdrawal behind polite smiles, a conversation that feels warm on the surface, but cold underneath. And you cannot help but ask yourself, why does it feel like the brighter I become, the lonelier I feel? When you walk into a room, you bring more than your physical presence. You carry an energy, a quiet awareness that changes the air around you. It is not something you try to do. It simply happens. Like sunlight entering a dim space, your being touches what has been hidden in others. Carl Jung once said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate." Your empathy has that power to awaken what sleeps beneath the surface. But here is the secret few understand. Not everyone welcomes illumination. Some souls are not ready to see what light reveals. They smile, yes, but their energy contracts, as if your very openness exposes something they have spent years trying to hide. You notice it, the subtle shift, the unspoken tension. They say all the right words, but their tone trembles between admiration and discomfort. You feel it even if they never say it out loud. This is what Jung called projection, the mind's way of avoiding what it cannot face. The parts of ourselves we fear, deny, or judge do not disappear. They simply take another form. We project them outward, placing them on the people who unknowingly reflect them back to us. The empath becomes that mirror, not by choice, but by nature. Your light exposes the cracks in the masks of others, and without meaning to, you reveal the buried wounds. So, when you sense someone pulling away from you, it is not because you have failed to be kind or careful. It is because your presence has stirred something deeper than words. A memory, a longing, a shame. They are not rejecting you. They are rejecting the reflection. Jung wrote, "Everything that irritates us about others can lead us to an understanding of ourselves. But that wisdom is rarely embraced in the moment. Most people, when confronted with their reflection, turn away. To look into the mirror of the soul requires courage, and not everyone is ready to meet their own eyes. Imagine it for a moment. You walk into a room where conversation hums softly. Laughter floats like warm smoke. You say nothing extraordinary, yet a mood shifts. Someone glances your way and then looks down. Another suddenly changes the topic. On the surface, it is nothing, a simple social dance, but you can feel it, that quiet resistance in the air. You have not done anything wrong. You have only existed truthfully, and still, it hurts. Because part of you wishes the world could meet you with the same tenderness you offer it. You wish that your depth was not so easily mistaken for heaviness, that your silence was not read as distance, that your sincerity did not make others so uneasy. But this is the price of awareness: to see more than others see, to feel more than they allow themselves to feel. What you are sensing is not rejection, but awakening. When your empathy meets their unconscious, it disrupts their comfort. It calls forth the pieces they have buried: envy, inadequacy, longing, grief, all those quiet ghosts of the psyche. And instead of recognizing them as their own, they project them onto you. You become too intense, too sensitive, too much. But those words are never really about you. They are the echoes of a heart struggling to face itself. It is like standing before a mirror that shows not just your face, but your soul. Most people look once, then turn away. They do not want to remember the parts of themselves they have exiled, the compassion they once silenced, the dreams they abandoned, the vulnerability they learned to hide. Your empathy, your light, calls them back to life. And that is not always comfortable. Jung described this as the tension of opposites, the dynamic pull between who we are and who we pretend to be. The empath stands at the center of that pull. You do not mean to challenge others, yet your authenticity does it naturally. Like the moon reflecting sunlight, you reveal what was always there but unseen. And yes, it can feel unfair. It can make you question your place in the world. You start to wonder if maybe you are too much, if perhaps you should dim your glow, speak softer, feel less. But remember, dimming your light will not heal anyone. It will only make the world darker for you and for them. You are not here to be less. You are here to be true. So when someone's eyes harden at your softness, breathe. When you feel their resentment, do not take it as rejection. See it for what it is, a projection, a mirror reflecting pain that is not yours to carry. You have awakened a truth they are not ready to hold. That is all. The next time you enter a room and feel the air tighten, remember this: the discomfort you sense is not your fault. It is the shadow trembling before the light. Jung once reminded us, who looks outside dreams, who looks inside awakes. When you awaken others simply by being yourself, it means your light is doing its work. Yes, it may isolate you at times. Yes, it may hurt to be misunderstood. But it is not your task to make everyone comfortable. Your only task is to remain authentic, to hold your light with grace, even when others mistake it for fire. So breathe again. Let go of the need to be understood. You are the mirror of the soul, the gentle reminder that the human heart is capable of both shadow and radiance. And though the world may flinch at your presence, deep down it remembers you. Because your light, quiet, honest, unwavering, is what a darkness has been waiting for. And yet, after all the silence and misunderstanding, you still keep giving. You still walk into the room with an open heart. Even when the world withdraws, you reach out again. Why? Because your empathy is not born from innocence. It is born from survival. Carl Jung called this archetype the wounded healer, the soul that learns to heal others because it has first learned to heal itself. Your sensitivity, your awareness, your light, they are not accidents of nature. They are the quiet result of every darkness you have ever endured and refused to let destroy you. You did not become kind because life was kind to you. You became kind because you knew what it felt like when it was not. Somewhere in your past, perhaps in childhood, perhaps in love, you felt the ache of being unseen. You learned the language of pain not from books, but from experience. And that is why you understand people before they speak. It is said that the wound is the place where the light enters you. Those words, often attributed to Rumi, capture something profoundly Jungian. That suffering, when faced consciously, becomes a doorway. The empath walks through that doorway again and again. Each heartbreak, each betrayal, each silent night becomes part of your education in compassion. But there is a cost to carrying such light. The myth of Prometheus tells us this truth. He stole fire from the gods and gave it to humanity, the gift of warmth, of consciousness, of creation. For that act of love, he was chained to a rock, condemned to suffer as his gift burned eternally. That is the paradox of the empath. You bring warmth to others, but the fire often scorches your own hands. You illuminate other people's paths, but sometimes you walk home in the dark. You are celebrated for your gentleness, but few see the endurance behind it. The countless times you have stitched yourself back together just to keep shining. In Jung's view, this inner wound is not a weakness. It is a source of power. He wrote, "There is no coming to consciousness without pain." The empath lives this truth daily. Pain has taught you empathy. Loss has refined your intuition. Loneliness has shaped your presence into something sacred and safe for others. And yet, because your gift was born from suffering, you sometimes forget that you too deserve to be healed. You offer the warmth of your light freely, even when no one asks how much it costs you to keep it burning. You comfort, you soothe, you carry. Until one day, you realize how heavy it has become. You may even feel guilty for needing rest, as though taking care of yourself somehow betrays your calling. But remember, Prometheus's fire was never meant to consume him. It was meant to sustain life. So too with you. Your light was not meant to burn you to ashes. It was meant to guide, to warm, to remind others that they can ignite their own. There will be people who mistake your empathy for endless endurance, who assume your strength means you never break. But the truth is, you have broken many times, and that is precisely what makes your light so human. Every healed fracture within you emits light. Every scar tells a story of survival. You are not radiant because you escaped darkness. You are radiant because you walked through it and emerged whole. Jung saw this as the essence of individuation, the process of integrating the wounded and the wise parts of the self into one complete being. To deny your pain would be to deny your wholeness. To embrace it, however, is to step into your power. And maybe that is why others come to you. They sense, even without words, that you have been where they are. Your eyes carry understanding that cannot be faked. You listen in a way that makes people feel safe, not because you have the answers, but because you know what it feels like to not have any. But remember, even healers need healing. Even the candle must pause to be relit. So tonight, let yourself rest. You do not have to carry everyone's fire. You are allowed to breathe, to release the weight of compassion that is turned into exhaustion. The world will not fall apart if you take a moment to hold your own heart. In the myth, Prometheus's punishment was eternal, but your story is not. You can choose to unchain yourself. You can choose to tend to your own flame with the same tenderness you offer to others. Jung once wrote, "The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are." For the wounded healer, that means realizing you are not just the wound and not only the light. You are both. You are the bridge between the two, the living proof that pain can become wisdom, that empathy can be strength. So, breathe now. Feel your chest rise and fall. Imagine the fire you carry. Small, steady, patient. It does not need to roar to be real. It simply needs care. And as you rest, remember this: every flame carries warmth, but also responsibility. So tonight, hold that light gently, guard it, not from others, but from forgetting your own worth. Because the world needs your warmth, but it needs you whole even more. Let the fire glow quietly in your chest. Let it remind you of everything you have survived, everything you have healed, and everything you are still becoming. Now breathe again, slow, deep, grateful, and keep that light in your heart. And so, as you learn to hold your own flame, you begin to notice something else, something deeper and quieter. It is not just about you and your light anymore. It is about what happens when your light meets another's shadow, when your soul brushes against the hidden world of someone else's unconscious. Every relationship you have ever had, every friendship, every love, every fleeting connection carries within it an invisible theater. You think it is just two people meeting, but in truth, it is two universes colliding. Carl Jung wrote, "The meeting of two personalities is like the contact of two chemical substances. If there is any reaction, both are transformed." What he meant is that no meeting is ever neutral. Beneath the surface, something ancient awakens each time two souls cross paths, a silent exchange between what is visible and what is buried. In every relationship, the unconscious is at play. Jung described this as an archetypal drama, a living dance of symbols and inner figures that act through us without our awareness. The empath does not just meet another person. They meet the archetypes that live inside that person. You might think you are falling in love, but in truth, your anima, the feminine soul within you, may be reaching out to the animus, the inner masculine of another. You might think you're offering help, but it may be the martyr archetype seeking redemption, or the healer within you answering the silent cry of the wounded child in someone else. These dramas unfold without a script, yet they shape every word, every gesture, every silence between breaths. Imagine it as a film, a slow, intimate scene shot in warm light. Two people stand close. The audience sees their faces, hears their words, feels their emotions. But beneath the frame, there is another story playing out. Their shadows speaking. Their archetypes reaching for one another like reflections across time. Jung believed that archetypes are the living system of reactions and aptitudes that determine the individual's life. And so, even as we talk, laugh, and love, it is often the unseen forces, those inner characters, that move the story forward. You can sense it, can't you? That moment when a connection feels larger than life, almost fated. When someone seems strangely familiar, though you have just met. It is not coincidence. It is the psyche recognizing itself in another form. Two souls meeting, yes, but often their shadows meet first. This is the hidden truth behind many human connections. What feels magnetic is rarely just personality. It is projection, the mind's longing to find outside itself what it has not yet integrated within. Jung called this the play of the opposites, the inner tension that seeks completion through relationship. That is why some people ignite something in you instantly, while others make you withdraw without knowing why. Beneath the calm surface of ordinary life, there is always a psychological choreography unfolding, an unseen dance between your unconscious and theirs. For the empath, this dynamic is even more vivid. Because you feel so deeply, you become attuned not only to the words others say, but also to the silences between them. You sense motives, emotions, unspoken wounds. You can feel when someone is fighting the shadow, even when they smile. You may not be able to explain it, but you know it in your body. The way the air changes, the way your heart contracts slightly, as if responding to a sound too low for the ear. At times, this sensitivity can feel like both a blessing and a curse. You may enter relationships full of hope and warmth, only to find yourself slowly absorbing another person's chaos. You begin to feel emotions that are not yours. Their sadness, their fear, their resentment, all of it clings to you, and you mistake it for your own. Jung warned that when two unconscious minds meet, they can infect each other with projections, binding themselves in invisible contracts. But remember this: projection is not evil. It is a bridge. It is how the psyche tries to show us what we need to heal. When someone projects their shadow onto you, they are revealing a part of themselves they cannot yet accept. And when you, the empath, take that projection too personally, you are forgetting that you too have an unconscious, one that longs to be seen, acknowledged, and made whole. Every connection, therefore, is an invitation, a mirror, a chance to see yourself through another. Jung captured this truth in his gentle reminder. Everything that irritates us about others can lead us to an understanding of ourselves. When you feel tension, attraction, or misunderstanding, it is often the unseen drama of the psyche unfolding, your inner world being reflected back to you through the theater of human relationship. Perhaps this is why love can be so overwhelming for those who feel deeply. It is not just affection, it is revelation. The other person becomes both muse and mirror, healer and wound. You do not just fall in love with them, you fall into the depth of your own soul, seeing it reflected in their eyes. And sometimes that reflection is beautiful, a soft reminder of all the goodness you have forgotten in yourself. But other times, it is haunting, showing you every part of you that still longs to be healed. Jung believed that this confrontation is necessary for growth. One doesn't become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious. Relationships, in this sense, are not distractions from the spiritual path. They are the path. They are how the soul learns to see itself. So the next time you meet someone and feel that strange electric pull, the mixture of attraction, fear, and familiarity, pause, breathe, ask yourself, what part of me recognizes itself here? What story within me is trying to continue through this connection? Because every meeting is a mirror. Every affection, a reflection. And in that mirror, in that sacred dance of light and shadow, you are not just relating to another person. You are witnessing the unfolding of your own soul. So let this understanding soften you. Do not fear the hidden drama. Let it teach you. Let it move through you like music that you no longer need to control. You are both actor and audience, light and reflection, self and other. And in that eternal play, somewhere between the first glance and the final silence, the soul slowly learns what it means to become whole. And as you begin to see the hidden dance between souls, the unseen drama that shapes every bond, a quieter truth emerges. Not all pain in relationships comes from what others do to you. Some of it comes from what you've been taught to do to yourself. For many empaths, love has always been tied to sacrifice. You learned, often without realizing it, that love means giving, even when it hurts, even when no one gives back. Somewhere deep inside, the message took root. To be loved, I must suffer a little. Perhaps this began long ago when you were a child. You sensed tension in the air between parents, between friends, between what was said and what was meant. And you tried to fix it, didn't you? You tried to make everyone happy, to calm the storms that weren't yours to calm. You learned that being good meant being quiet, agreeable, selfless. And though that earned you temporary peace, it also taught your heart something dangerous, that love is conditional, that your worth depends on how much you can endure. Carl Jung once wrote, "The most terrifying thing is to accept oneself completely." But for those raised in emotional chaos, self-acceptance feels like disobedience. You internalize the belief that it is noble to lose yourself for others. You take pride in being the one who understands, the one who forgives, the one who never gives up, even when it costs you your own peace. This is what Jung would call a complex. a deep psychological pattern that repeats itself unconsciously. You keep attracting people who need saving because part of you still believes salvation is how you earn love. You take on their pain, absorb their shadows, and tell yourself it is compassion. But what if it is not compassion? What if it is fear? Fear of being unloved if you stop giving? You see, the martyr archetype lives quietly within many empaths. It whispers, if I can just love hard enough, they will change. Or if I carry their pain, maybe they will finally see my worth. This is not conscious manipulation. It is the unconscious replay of a childhood truth. Love hurts, but if I keep giving, it will finally be enough. But love, real love, was never meant to be earned through exhaustion. You can feel this in your body, can't you? That tired heaviness that no amount of sleep fixes. The ache of constantly tending to others while your own inner garden dries out. You tell yourself it's noble, but deep down you know it's unsustainable. You are giving from an empty well and wondering why no one notices the drought. Jung believed that such unconscious sacrifice creates what he called the shadow of virtue, when something good, like empathy, becomes distorted through imbalance. In his words, there is no light without shadow and no psychic wholeness without imperfection. To always be the giver, the caretaker, the forgiver, is to live only half of yourself, the half that feels safe being needed. The other half, the one that wants to rest, to receive, to say no, remains buried, unseen. Perhaps as you listen now, you can feel that quiet recognition, that gentle ache of knowing you've done this. Maybe you have stayed in conversations too long, relationships too heavy, jobs too draining. All because you thought endurance was proof of goodness. You believed that the more you suffered, the purer your love became. But love that demands self-erasure is not love. It is fear wearing a halo. The truth is, you were never meant to be a martyr. You were meant to be whole. So tonight, I want you to imagine this, a small garden within your chest. You've been tending to it your whole life, watering, pruning, keeping it alive through every storm. But somewhere along the way, you forgot that others are not supposed to walk through it with muddy shoes. You forgot that boundaries are not walls. They are fences, gentle, natural, protective. A garden without a fence invites both beauty and harm. Some come to admire the flowers, others trample them without meaning to. And you, the empath, keep replanting, keep forgiving, without realizing that love requires tending, not endless self-sacrifice. This is what Jung meant when he said, "Nothing can be created without destruction." Sometimes the destruction required is the ending of an old pattern, the courage to say, "I no longer trade my peace for belonging." To stop overgiving is not to become cold. It is to trust that your worth is not dependent on how much you can bear. You can still love deeply, but now with awareness. You can still give, but from abundance, not depletion. Because true empathy is not about carrying everyone else's fire. It is about helping them find their own. And maybe, as you hear these words, there's a small part of you, that tired, kind part, exhaling for the first time. Realizing you don't have to keep proving your love through pain. Realizing that you can still be compassionate without sacrificing your soul. So let this moment be a soft turning point. The martyr within you does not need punishment. It needs understanding. Thank it for trying to protect you. It believed that suffering was the safest way to stay loved. But now you can teach it something new, that love and pain do not have to coexist. Breathe deeply now. Picture your inner garden once more. The earth feels cool beneath your hands. Around it, you begin to build a gentle fence, not to shut anyone out, but to keep your peace intact, to protect what is still growing inside you. You do not have to apologize for needing boundaries. You do not have to explain why you are tired. You are allowed to step back, to breathe, to choose rest over martyrdom. Because love is not proven through suffering. It is revealed through balance, the quiet, knowing that you can care for others and yourself at the same time. So tonight, as the world softens and the noise fades, remind yourself, you're not here to burn out for love. You are here to bloom. And like every garden that survives the storm, your peace deserves to be protected, not by walls, but by gentle boundaries that say, this is sacred. Please, walk softly here. When you finally learn to protect your peace, when you stop bleeding yourself dry just to keep others warm, something inside you shifts. You begin to see that your light was never meant to be spent recklessly. It was meant to guide, not to be consumed. There is a dream that visits many empaths. In it, you find yourself walking alone through a quiet forest at night. The air is cool, still, almost sacred. In your hands, you hold a lantern, fragile yet steady, casting a warm circle of light around you. The path beneath your feet glows softly, each step uncertain but illuminated, just enough for you to continue. As you walk, you begin to notice others emerging from the shadows. Some are drawn to your light with gentle curiosity, faces softened by its warmth. They move closer, grateful for the comfort it brings. You feel a sense of connection, quiet, pure, unspoken. But then there are others. They squint, they flinch. Some try to blow out your flame, not out of cruelty, but because they cannot bear what it reveals. The lantern exposes the wounds they have buried, the parts of themselves they would rather keep in darkness. Carl Jung once said, "One does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious." That is what your lantern does. It awakens awareness in yourself and in those who cross your path. But awareness can be painful, and so people react. Some come close, others turn away. Some seek your warmth, while others fear it. This is the nature of light. It reveals truth, and truth does not always comfort. The empath's life is very much like that dream. You carry a flame born from your own suffering, and wherever you go, that light changes the atmosphere. You do not even have to speak. Your mere presence calls something hidden into awareness, in others and in yourself. It is both gift and burden, beauty and responsibility. And when people respond to you, whether with love, jealousy, admiration, or contempt, it is not truly you they are reacting to. It is what they see reflected in your light. Jung wrote, "Everything that irritates us about others can lead us to an understanding of ourselves." But few realize this in the moment. They do not see a mirror, they see a threat. You might wonder why your kindness is sometimes met with resistance, why your openness seems to make others uneasy. But remember, the mirror is not responsible for the reflection. It only shows what is already there. When someone resents your light, they are wrestling with their own shadow. When they try to dim your glow, it is not because they hate illumination. It is because they are not ready to see. In the forest of your dream, you will meet many kinds of souls. the ones who walk beside you quietly, sharing warmth, the ones who rush forward, desperate for your flame, only to drain it, and the ones who fear what it reveals and vanish back into the dark. You cannot control who stays or who leaves. Your task is only to keep walking, to protect the lantern without hiding it, to let it shine without forcing it upon anyone. Jung believed that each person must carry their own light, that no one can walk another's path of individuation. You can guide others, but you cannot save them. Their darkness belongs to them just as your light belongs to you. This truth brings both peace and sadness. You will lose people who cannot bear your authenticity. You will outgrow spaces where your presence feels like too much. But you will also find those who recognize your flame, not as a source of power, but as a shared reminder of the human spirit's resilience. To be an empath is to live with that duality. You hold compassion in one hand and solitude in the other. You learn that love is not always understanding, and understanding is not always love. But you continue anyway, because that is what light does. It continues. There will be moments when you feel your lantern flicker, when exhaustion whispers that it would be easier to dim yourself, to disappear into the safety of darkness. But do not mistake rest for extinguishment. Even a flame that rests still burns quietly within. Breathe. Feel the air around you. Notice how even the night holds you, not as an enemy, but as balance. The darkness does not truly despise the light. It only fears what it has not yet seen. The shadow, Jung said, is a moral problem that challenges the whole ego personality, for no one can become conscious of the shadow without considerable moral effort. When you encounter resistance, remember, you are witnessing that effort. You are seeing the psyche's defense against awakening. It is not your fault. It is simply the nature of human growth. So, as you move through your dream forest, keep walking gently. Let your lantern cast its soft glow on the path, not to blind, but to reveal. Let those who are ready step closer, and let those who turn away do so without judgment. Each person travels at their own pace toward wholeness. And when the night feels endless, look into your own flame. See how it still burns, quiet, unwavering, alive. That is your proof that you have not lost yourself, even when the world fails to understand you. The mirror and the flame, that is who you are. You reflect truth and you illuminate it. You awaken what is dormant and you remind the world that there is beauty in both light and darkness. Now, as the forest grows still again, breathe deeply. Feel the rhythm of your heart matching the rhythm of the earth. The night is not against you. It is your companion. And remember this, the darkness does not hate the light. It has simply never learned how to see. After walking through the forest of your own becoming, after guarding the small flame that still burns in your hands, you begin to notice something profound. The way your light not only reveals others, but transforms them. It is not always visible, not always gentle, but it is real. For whenever light meets shadow, both are changed. Carl Jung once wrote, "The meeting of two personalities is like the contact of two chemical substances. If there is any reaction, both are transformed." He was describing something more than emotion. He was describing alchemy. The moment your consciousness touches another's unconscious, a reaction begins. It may manifest as warmth, as love, as gratitude, or as discomfort, envy, even resentment. But all of it is transformation in progress. Resentment then is not proof of failure, it is proof of contact. Think of it this way. You walk again through your garden, the garden of your soul. Within it bloom all the flowers you have tended through years of pain and healing. Patience, empathy, compassion, truth. When others enter this space, they respond according to their own state of being. Some admire the beauty and breathe in the scent, grateful for the peace they feel near you. Others pick the flowers greedily, unaware that they are taking what cannot truly belong to them. And some, unable to face such beauty, trample the blossoms underfoot. But none of these reactions are truly about you. They are reflections, instinctive responses to light. In Jungian psychology, this is the mechanism of projection. When the ego encounters something in another person that it cannot yet accept within itself, it casts that quality outward like a shadow thrown onto a wall. If one cannot face their own envy, they accuse another of arrogance. If one cannot face their own inadequacy, they resent another's confidence. And if one cannot bear their own inner light, they will fear yours. So when you meet resentment, pause before you take it personally. You are witnessing the psyche's defense against awareness. The person who resents you is not evil. They are afraid. Your presence has touched a wound that was not ready to be seen. This is why Jung said, everything that irritates us about others can lead us to an understanding of ourselves. The same applies in reverse. Everything that causes others to resent you can lead them eventually to an understanding of themselves. If they choose awareness, that resentment becomes medicine. If they do not, it festers into projection, growing like weeds in their inner garden. You, the empath, often sense this energy long before words are spoken. You feel it in the air, the subtle tightening of tone, the averted eyes, the silence that suddenly feels heavy. And because you are attuned to harmony, your first instinct is to ask, what did I do wrong? But perhaps the better question is, what within them has been touched by my light? Resentment is not a verdict. It is a signal that something sacred has been stirred. Just as sunlight awakens dormant seeds and burns away decay, your presence awakens both growth and resistance in others. It is not within your power to decide which they will choose. Some will blossom, others will retreat. You can only remain steady, the light that neither judges nor retreats. The alchemy of projection is like fire meeting metal. The heat reveals what the metal is made of. Some materials melt, others temper and become stronger. The reaction is not yours to control. Your task is simply to remain conscious. Jung described this process as individuation, the gradual awakening of the self through encounters with both the outer and inner world. Relationships are its crucible. Every person you meet becomes part of this alchemy, helping you confront the fragments of your own unconscious. Even resentment, especially resentment, is part of this transformation. Because when someone projects onto you, they are not truly attacking you. They are externalizing an inner battle. Their soul is speaking to itself through the language of conflict. And in time, if they are willing, that energy can turn inward again, bringing understanding instead of hostility. Your role is not to fix them, but to witness them without losing yourself. Imagine again your garden at dusk. The light is soft now, the air quiet. You notice footprints, some gentle, some careless, some destructive. Yet still, the flowers grow. Still, the fragrance lingers. That is what your light does. It endures. The people who enter your life are drawn to that fragrance even when they do not understand it. Some will thank you. Some will hurt you. Both are responding to the same thing, your authenticity. And though it may wound you at times, you must remember, the garden doesn't judge those who walk through it. It simply continues to bloom. In the alchemy of the soul, even resentment serves a purpose. It reveals where the unconscious resists healing. It shows where fear hides behind pride. When you learn to see this clearly, you begin to understand that resentment is not opposition. It is contact. It means that your light has reached a place long hidden. So when you feel that sting, that sudden shift in energy, that quiet withdrawal from someone who once seemed close, take a breath. Do not close your heart. See the moment for what it is, a transformation in progress. Your presence has acted as a catalyst. Something is burning away, though it may look like rejection. Something is changing, though it may sound like anger. Jung once reminded us, there is no coming to consciousness without pain. The pain of resentment is not punishment. It is a signal of awakening. You are not here to be universally liked. You are here to be authentic, to hold your light steady even when others flinch, to let your presence reveal what must be seen, whether it brings comfort or discomfort. Because true empathy does not hide. It illuminates. And when you understand this, you stop taking projection personally. You begin to see every reaction, admiration, envy, rejection, love, as part of the same sacred chemistry. You are the catalyst, not the cause. So tend to your garden. Let it remain open but guarded with grace. Let others come and go, learn and forget. Some will nurture, some will destroy, but none can take away what is rooted deeply in you. The garden grows, not because everyone understands it, but because it belongs to the light. And when you walk through it tonight, with quiet steps and an open heart, remember this. Resentment is not a verdict. It is simply life whispering, something has been touched. When you begin to understand projection, when you finally see that resentment is not a judgment but a mirror, something inside you softens. The sharpness of hurt gives way to a quieter understanding. You start to realize that the hostility you feel from others is as rarely about you at all. It is about what your light awakens in them. Something long buried, something they have forgotten how to love. Carl Jung called this hidden longing the shadow ideal. It is the part of the psyche that carries not only what we reject in ourselves, but also what we once admired, dreamed of, or hoped to become, and then abandoned. The shadow is not only darkness, it also contains unlived light. You see, most people imagine the shadow as purely negative, the selfishness, anger, envy, and fear that we repress. But Jung taught that the shadow is 90% pure gold. It hides both the unwanted and the unclaimed, the bright potential that once existed before life taught us to hide. And so, when someone encounters you, your authenticity, your presence, your quiet light, they do not only see you, they see the reflection of who they could have been if they had chosen differently. They see the version of themselves that once wanted to feel deeply, to love freely, to live without masks. But over time, that version was buried under layers of adaptation, fear, and conformity. When your light shines, it pierces through those layers, even if only for a second. And that moment of recognition, that flash of what could have been can be painful. It stirs grief, envy, shame. Not because you did something wrong, but because your presence reminds them of what they have lost touch with in themselves. It is not your light they resent. It is the mirror it creates. This is the shadow ideal, the idealized self that lives in the dark corners of the psyche, waiting to be rediscovered. And when someone is not ready to meet that part of themselves, they project the discomfort outward. You become the symbol of their lost wholeness. Think of it like this. When you walk through the world as yourself, honest, vulnerable, alive, you hold up a mirror that says, "Look, this is what authenticity feels like." But not everyone can bear that reflection. For some, it's inspiring. For others, it's unbearable. Jung wrote, "Everything that irritates us about others can lead us to an understanding of ourselves." Those who envy or criticize your openness are not truly angry with you. They are angry with the part of themselves that stopped believing they could be the same. You can sense this in their energy. Their words might sound dismissive. "You're too sensitive," or "You take things too seriously." But beneath those phrases lies something tender. "I wish I could feel the way you do." In this understanding, resentment transforms into compassion. Because once you see this pattern clearly, you stop taking it personally. You begin to see the wounded child behind the criticism, the lost dream behind the hostility. You remember that once, you too were afraid of your own light. You too learned to dim it for safety, to fit in, to avoid standing out. The difference is, you decided to reclaim it. Jung believed that individuation, the journey toward becoming whole, requires us to meet both our light and our darkness. But for many, that journey feels impossible. The shadow ideal demands honesty, courage, and surrender, qualities that the ego resists. So when your light shines naturally, you represent everything their unconscious craves but cannot yet accept. That is why compassion, not resentment, is your final lesson. In this space of awareness, you begin to feel sorrow, but it is not the sorrow of defeat. It is the tender sorrow of seeing humanity as it is, striving, wounded, yearning to be whole, but often too afraid to try. You no longer see enemies, only mirrors. Imagine walking again through your garden, the same garden from before. The flowers bloom quietly under the morning sun. Some visitors pick the blossoms gently, others still trample them. But this time, you understand. You see that those who destroy do not hate beauty. They fear that beauty does not belong to them. You no longer guard your garden with bitterness. You protect it with wisdom. Because now you know the people who hurt you were only trying to silence what they could not yet embrace within themselves. Jung once said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate." When you see others struggling against your light, you are witnessing that law in motion. Their unconscious is leading them, shaping their reactions, keeping them trapped in patterns of envy and self-denial. But your awareness can break that chain, not by fixing them, but by refusing to become their reflection. The empath at this stage begins to mature. The heart softens, not hardens. You no longer need to justify your light or hide it to avoid conflict. You simply understand that some will draw strength from you and others will project their loss onto you. You become the stillness in the center of the storm. And when resentment comes, as it inevitably will, you meet it differently. You breathe, you listen, you look beyond the words, beyond the tone, into the soul beneath. And quietly, without needing to say it, you think, you do not hate me. You hate the mirror that shows you your own forgotten beauty. This realization is not arrogance. It is empathy at its purest. It allows you to forgive without becoming naive, to love without losing yourself, to see others' pain without taking it as your own. Because now you see the truth Jung devoted his life to describing. Every conflict in the outer world is a reflection of the inner one. Every act of resentment hides a longing for wholeness. Every rejection of light is a silent plea for its return. So, as you walk through the world tonight, carrying your lantern through forests and gardens alike, remember this: your task is not to make others see. It is simply to keep the mirror clean. Let your presence remain gentle, your light steady. Do not force understanding. Do not demand gratitude. Your compassion is enough. And if ever you feel weary, place your hand over your heart and remind yourself, you are not here to fix the shadows. You are here to honor your own. Because healing does not come from resisting the dark. It comes from seeing it clearly, with love. The shadows do not hate the light. They are simply waiting for someone brave enough to hold up the mirror and not look away. When you finally begin to understand the pain of others, when compassion replaces resentment and you no longer take their shadows as attacks, a deeper truth begins to whisper within you. It is quiet at first, almost hesitant. It asks, and what about your own shadow? Because even the empath, for all their light and tenderness, carries darkness within. Not the kind of darkness that seeks to harm, but the kind that hides behind goodness. The unspoken fears, the silent exhaustion, the guilt of needing rest. Carl Jung wrote, "One doesn't become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious." To walk the path of empathy is to eventually turn inward, to face the part of yourself you have long tried to transcend. You have spent so much of your life feeling for others, their pain, their needs, their moods, that you may have forgotten what your own feelings sound like. You have learned to comfort, to carry, to forgive. But beneath that noble surface lies a quiet ache, the fear of being selfish, the fear of not being enough, the fear that love will disappear if you stop giving. This is the shadow of the empath. It hides behind kindness, disguising itself as virtue. It whispers, "If I rest, they will think I do not care," or "If I say no, I will lose them." And so, you keep giving, not always out of love, but out of fear. You keep shining, not because you feel full, but because you are terrified of the dark. But what Jung reminds us is that even light, when unbalanced, casts a shadow. The part of you that wants to heal can become the part that cannot stop helping. The part of you that longs to love can become the part that cannot let go. To see this clearly is not a failure. It is the beginning of freedom. You see, empathy is not only about understanding others. It is also about understanding yourself. To feel deeply without being consumed, to care without losing your center, that is the true art of consciousness. Imagine for a moment standing before a mirror again. Not the mirror that reflects others, but the one that finally reflects you. The person who has carried so much, forgiven so much, stayed strong for so long. Look closely. You will see both the healer and the wounded, the giver and the one who still longs to receive. Jung believed that wholeness does not come from perfection, but from integration, the marriage of opposites within the psyche. He wrote, "The acceptance of oneself is the essence of the whole moral problem and the epitome of a whole outlook on life." For the empath, this acceptance begins when you finally allow yourself to be human, to need, to falter, to rest. When you recognize that your worth is not measured by how much you can endure for others, but by how honestly you can live your own truth. And yes, that truth includes your shadow, your anger, your jealousy, your exhaustion, your longing. You do not have to exile these parts to remain good. You only have to meet him with the same compassion you have always offered to everyone else. When you stop rejecting your own darkness, something miraculous happens. Your light changes. It becomes softer, purer, less heavy. You no longer give to prove your goodness. You give because it flows naturally from a place of wholeness. You no longer carry others out of guilt. You walk beside them out of love. This is what Jung meant by individuation. The process of becoming a whole being. It is not about becoming only light, but about becoming transparent enough that light and shadow can coexist within you. You begin to realize that empathy is not about absorbing pain. It is about witnessing it, both in others and in yourself, without judgment. Perhaps as you hear these words, you can sense your own shadow stirring. The quiet child inside who learned that love must be earned, the inner voice that says, "I must always be the good one." Let that child rest. Let them know they are safe even when they do nothing. Because love that must be earned is not love. It is survival. And you are no longer surviving. You are awakening. You may notice that as you accept your shadow, the world feels gentler. The same faces that once triggered pain now evoke compassion. The same loneliness that once felt like punishment now feels like peace. You are no longer reaching outward for validation. You are resting inward, finally at home. Jung once wrote, "I am not what happened to me. I am what I choose to become." And the moment you embrace your own darkness, you stop being a reflection of pain and become a vessel of truth. You realize that light does not have to conquer darkness. It simply has to understand it. Picture yourself now as glass, not opaque, not broken, but clear. Through that transparency, light passes effortlessly. You do not hold it. You do not claim it. You simply let it move through you. You become a bridge between the seen and unseen, a witness to both love and sorrow without clinging to either. And this, perhaps, is the quiet rebirth of the empath. The moment you stop being a candle burning for others and become the space where light flows freely. Because when you embrace your own shadow, you're no longer divided. You become whole, and wholeness is not brightness, it is clarity. So take a deep breath now. Feel your chest rise and fall. Notice how even in the darkness behind your closed eyes, there's still light, soft, patient, alive. You do not need to fight the dark. You only need to see it. And when you do, when you hold both your pain and your peace in the same breath, you will understand the final truth. When you embrace your shadow, you become transparent, and the light no longer stops at you. It passes through you. When you finally allow light to move through you, when you stop clinging to being good, kind, or right, something inside begins to settle. You feel it first as stillness. The storms that once ruled your heart start to quiet, and the need to be understood fades into the background. You no longer burn for approval or ache for validation. You are simply here, breathing, aware, whole. This is the moment when the empath becomes something more. The empath who once absorbed everything around them begins to see clearly. The constant giving, the quiet wounds, the misunderstood intentions, they all start to take on a new shape. You begin to realize that resentment, judgment, and misunderstanding were never signs of failure. They were signs of friction, the soul's final effort to resist transformation. Resentment, you realize, is the shadow's last cry before transformation. Carl Jung wrote, "The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are." Becoming yourself means no longer chasing light outside of you. It means recognizing that you are the light. And light doesn't need to be seen to exist. It simply is. There was a time when misunderstanding frightened you. You tried so hard to explain yourself, to make others see your intentions, to prove that your empathy came from love and not weakness. But now you understand. Understanding is not something you can demand. People can only meet you at the depth they've met themselves. You do not need to be understood to be real. You only need to be true. This is a quiet evolution of the empath, the turning point where sensitivity becomes wisdom. The pain that once made you fragile now makes you strong. You stop seeing misunderstanding as rejection and start seeing it as freedom. When people misread you, it no longer wounds you. It only reminds you that your worth is not dependent on their vision. Think of light again. It does not ask for attention. It doesn't beg to be seen. Even when covered by clouds, it continues to exist, illuminating, nourishing, quietly transforming everything it touches. The empath, who becomes a sage, learns this truth. Visibility is not the same as value. You do not need to shine constantly. You do not need to prove your warmth to anyone. You simply exist, and that is enough. Jung often spoke of individuation as a process of returning to the self, a deeper center that holds all opposites together. To reach that center, you must let go of every label, even the label of healer. You are not defined by what you give or by how others perceive you. You are defined by your inner stillness, the space within that no longer depends on external reflection. In that stillness, you begin to see people differently. The ones who hurt you, who projected onto you, who misunderstood you, they no longer trigger pain. You see them for what they are, souls still wrestling with their shadows. You no longer take it personally because you recognize the pattern. Their anger, their distance, their criticism. These are not punishments. They are signs that your light touched a place within them they were not yet ready to face. Jung wrote, "The shadow is a tight passage, a narrow door whose painful constriction no one is spared who goes down to the deep well." You remember your own journey through that narrow door, how it felt to confront your fears, your hidden motives, your need to be loved. So now, when you see others standing before their own shadows, you no longer rush to save them. You simply honor the process. This is what makes the empath a sage. Compassion without attachment, understanding without exhaustion, love without control. You begin to speak less, but mean more. You help less, but heal deeper. You give without draining yourself, because what you give now comes from abundance, not emptiness. And when resentment finds its way to you again, because it always will, you meet it with calm. You breathe and think, this is not against me. This is life transforming itself through friction. You stop reacting. You start observing. You become a witness rather than a sponge. You no longer absorb energy. You transmute it. You no longer fight shadows. You illuminate them silently. In this stillness, life feels different. The same world that once overwhelmed you now feels spacious. You no longer try to hold everything, because you understand that nothing truly needs to be held. The light you carry does not belong to you. It moves through you. The love you share does not diminish. It renews itself endlessly when you stop trying to own it. You begin to see that every misunderstanding, every resentment, every projection was a teacher, a mirror guiding you back to yourself. The people who doubted you were not blocking your path. They were your path. They helped you learn the one lesson that all empaths must eventually understand. You do not need to prove your goodness. You only need to be authentic. Say it softly to yourself. I do not need to be seen to be real. I do not need to be perfect to be loved. That is the freedom of the sage, to exist beyond explanation, to live without defending your light, to give without seeking a return. Carl Jung once said, your vision will become clear only when you can look into your own heart. Who looks outside dreams. Who looks inside awakes. You, who once looked outward for affirmation, now turn inward for truth. You no longer dream of being seen. You awaken to being, and perhaps the most beautiful part of this awakening is how quietly it arrives. No lightning, no applause, no proof, just the soft realization that your light does not depend on the world's eyes. So tonight, as you rest, let this truth settle in your chest like warm sunlight behind closed eyelids. You are not here to convince anyone of your goodness. You are not here to chase understanding. You are here to be. And even when no one sees it, even when your light goes unnoticed, it still shines. It still warms. It still exists. Because light, like truth, does not need witnesses. It only needs to be. There comes a moment after awakening when everything becomes quiet. The striving, the proving, the endless reaching, all of it dissolves into stillness. You have learned what you needed to learn. You have understood that your worth was never something to earn. Now, there is only presence, soft, warm, alive. Take a slow breath. Feel it move gently through you. Let your shoulders drop, your chest open, your heartbeat steady. You are here in this moment, and that is enough. Carl Jung once wrote, in each of us, there is another whom we do not know. He speaks to us in dreams and tells us how differently he sees us from the way we see ourselves. This quiet part of you, the watcher, the listener, the flame, has been waiting for you to come home. Tonight you do. Close your eyes and imagine a small light glowing in the center of your chest. It flickers softly, not demanding attention, just existing. This is your essence, the fire that has survived every winter, every storm, every moment of doubt. You do not have to protect it with fear anymore. You only have to hold it. Boundaries help you do that. You once thought boundaries were barriers, walls that kept love out. But now you understand they are not walls at all. They are the natural edges of your soul. The way you preserve your light so it does not scatter into the noise of the world. A boundary is not distance. It is definition. It is saying, this is where I end and where the world begins. and both deserve respect. In the stillness of your awareness, you can see how your energy moves. When you give too much, the flame wavers. When you hold too tightly, it suffocates. Balance lies in the gentle art of tending, not clinging, not abandoning, but keeping the flame steady and alive. Take another deep breath. Inhale slowly through your nose. Exhale softly through your mouth. Let the air move like a tide, washing over your inner fire. With every breath, you are fanning its warmth, not to make it burn brighter, but to help it breathe freely. There is strength in this kind of stillness. Not the loud strength of control, but the quiet confidence of alignment. You are no longer reacting to the world. You are responding to it. You are no longer seeking to be needed. You are choosing to be present. In this space, self-respect blooms naturally. It is not pride, it is peace. It is the deep knowing that you do not have to shrink to be loved, nor harden to be safe. Your boundaries are acts of love, both for yourself and for others. They say, I honor your journey, but I must also honor my own. As you hold your flame, you begin to notice something else. It does not fear the wind anymore. Once, every breeze of criticism or rejection threatened to extinguish you. Now you understand. The wind cannot destroy what is rooted in truth. It only teaches the flame how to dance. Jung believed that the soul seeks balance above all else. He wrote, the pendulum of the mind oscillates between sense and nonsense, not between right and wrong. The task is not to choose sides, but to find rhythm, the gentle swing between light and shadow, giving and resting, being and becoming. So you begin to live like that, rhythmically, gracefully. You say yes when it feels right and no when it does not. You step forward without forcing and step back without guilt. You allow relationships to flow naturally, not out of obligation, but out of resonance. Each boundary becomes a quiet affirmation. I am safe within myself. You are not closing off. You are cultivating space for life to move through you freely. You are no longer a sponge absorbing everything. You are a vessel, guiding energy with intention. You choose what enters your awareness, what deserves your attention, what aligns with your peace. In this awareness, empathy transforms into wisdom. You no longer confuse compassion with self-sacrifice. You know now that love given without self-respect becomes depletion, and love rooted in wholeness becomes medicine. Let this understanding settle deep in your body. Feel how it changes your breath. Slower, fuller, more anchored. Your nervous system begins to mirror your consciousness. Calm, grounded, alive. This is what it means to hold the flame. Not to chase it, not to protect it with walls, but to let it live. Steady, silent, radiant. Imagine again that light within your chest. It pulses softly, glowing through your ribs like amber. With each breath, it expands, not outward, but inward, filling every corner of your being with quiet warmth. You are not trying to shine, you simply are. Carl Jung once said, as far as we can discern, the sole purpose of human existence is to kindle a light of meaning in the darkness of mere being. That light is not grand or loud. It is personal, sacred, patient. It is the flame you now hold in your hands. Let it remind you that peace is not the absence of struggle, but the mastery of presence. You can face the world without losing yourself. You can love deeply without disappearing. You can give without burning out. Every time you breathe consciously, you return to this truth. You remember that your worth is not in how much light you give to others, but in how faithfully you tend to your own. So breathe again, slow, gentle, grateful. Feel your chest rise and fall like the rhythm of the sea. Feel how the light within you grows warmer with each exhale. You have nothing left to prove, nothing to fix, nothing to chase. Only the flame, patient, ancient, eternal, resting in your heart. It does not need to roar to be powerful. It does not need to be seen to be real. Just hold it, steady, quiet, true. And in this stillness, you will know you are safe, you are whole, and your light, it will never go out. The night is calm now. The flame you have been tending rests quietly in your chest, steady, warm, alive. It no longer flickers from fear, nor burns from striving. It simply exists like a quiet truth that has finally found its voice. The long journey has led you here, from the ache of misunderstanding to the stillness of acceptance, from the shadows that once haunted you to the light that now lives within you. Every moment, the wounds, the lessons, the letting go has brought you to this peace. Carl Jung wrote, "No tree, it is said, can grow to heaven unless its roots reach down to hell." You have done exactly that. You descended into your depths, faced what was hidden, and rose again, not unscarred, but whole. This is the paradox of transformation. Your light was never separate from your darkness. It was born through it. The empath who once carried the pain of others has become the sage who carries awareness. The one who once sought love has become love itself. You no longer fight your sensitivity. You understand it as your strength. You no longer fear your depth. You recognize it as your gift. The path has not been easy, but it has been real. You have moved through the cycle of becoming: pain, understanding, acceptance, rebirth, illumination. And now, at the end of this quiet journey, there is no need to struggle anymore. You have learned the most profound lesson of all. You were never meant to fight the darkness, only to be so fully yourself that the darkness cannot help but notice. You are the light, not a beacon shouting for recognition, but a steady pulse of truth that reminds others of what still lives inside them. Take a slow breath. Let it travel gently through your body. Feel how each inhale draws warmth to your heart, and each exhale releases what no longer belongs to you. The air feels softer now. The space around you expands, vast and endless, like the quiet of the universe itself. It is in this stillness that you begin to understand the true nature of your light. It was never meant to conquer. It was meant to illuminate. Jung once said, "As far as we can discern, the sole purpose of human existence is to kindle a light of meaning in the darkness of mere being." That is what you have done. Through every heartbreak, every awakening, every silent night, you have kindled meaning. Your life, with all its complexity, has become a quiet flame in the great fabric of existence. The gift of your light is not in how brightly it shines, but in how gently it warms. It is the soft glow that helps another soul see their path just a little more clearly. It is the calm presence that says, "You are not alone. You do not have to save the world. You only have to be true to your light, to keep it alive, to share it without fear, to let it soften the spaces it touches." Look back now at everything that brought you here. The resentment that once stung, the shadows that once frightened you, the loneliness that once felt unbearable. They were all teachers. They shaped your empathy, into wisdom. They carve space inside you for compassion to grow. The empath's sensitivity has become the sage's strength. You have learned that peace is not the absence of feeling, but the mastery of it. You have learned that love is not sacrifice, but presence. And perhaps most beautifully, you have learned that light does not need to be loud to be powerful. It can be quiet. It can be still. It can simply be. So now, take another breath, deep and slow. Feel the rhythm of your body aligning with the rhythm of the earth. Feel how everything around you, the air, the silence, the unseen, moves with the same pulse as your heart. You are part of this great infinite rhythm. You always were. And as you sit in this awareness, let these words settle gently inside you. You do not need to fight for love. You do not need to prove your worth. You do not need to chase the light. You are it. The world may not always understand you, but it does not have to. The universe moves quietly through those who are awake, and you are one of them. Let that truth bring ease to your breath. Let it soften your thoughts. Let it dissolve the last remnants of striving. The light you carry is not a burden. It is a blessing. It was never about being seen. It was always about becoming. Jung once wrote, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate." You have made it conscious. You have taken what was once pain and turned it into awareness. You have turned fate into choice. Now, the only thing left to do is rest. The journey of the empath ends not in triumph, but in peace. Not in noise, but in silence. You have come home to yourself. So let your body soften. Let your breath slow. Let your thoughts drift like clouds at dawn. Feel how the world grows quieter with every exhale. Your light is safe now. It no longer needs to prove, to defend, or to heal. It only needs to exist, quietly, tenderly, infinitely. And as the last traces of thought fade, as the rhythm of sleep begins to take you, remember this: you are not here to fight the darkness. You are here to be so fully yourself that the darkness cannot help but notice. Now, let the stillness embrace you. Let the stars above fade gently into morning. Your light is safe. Your heart is whole. Sleep well, luminous one. The night has grown quiet now. The journey is complete, not in the way of endings, but in the way of coming home. You have walked through the shadows of others, and then through your own. You have seen how pain becomes understanding, how understanding becomes acceptance, and how acceptance blooms into light. There is nothing left to prove, nothing left to carry. The world outside has slowed, and within you, something has found its rhythm again. The empath has become the sage, not by escaping the dark, but by learning to see within it. The flame you hold no longer trembles. It simply glows. You have learned that peace is not given, it is remembered. That love is not a search, it is a presence. And that light, your light, does not need to be seen to be real. It moves quietly through every breath, every thought, every heartbeat. So as you lay back now, let your body soften into the calm you have earned. Let the weight of the day dissolve into the quiet pulse of your own being. Breathe deeply, slowly, gently, as if each breath is a promise to yourself that you are safe, that you are whole, that you are enough. Outside, the world keeps turning. Inside, the light keeps glowing. And tonight, you can finally rest. Sleep well, luminous one.